Greetings from the Charter School Office. I'm Albert Bertram, the Finance Specialist for the office. This sheet is a review of the audited financial statements. It essentially takes the audit and summarizes it in 4 pages, adds a couple calculations, and helps make things easier to follow and compare from year to year. So, though NHA has the sweep agreement, this audit is still available to the public, so we thought it was important to still try to communicate what was on it with you and share what we have in our office with it. So with that, we'll start here in the statement of net positions. Net position. So this will give the breakdown of all the assets, liabilities. To show that this is directly from the audit, I will show you that the total assets are $1,049,807. So we'll go to the audit. Here's the statement of net position right here, the current assets, and then you'll see $1,049,807. So you could match up the other numbers if you want, and there's the total net position of 14,223. So going back to our sheet, here's that ending net position of 14,223. That is for June 30th, 2014. This number below it is the June 30th, 2013 number, so you can compare. There was a slight decrease in net position for Taylor Exemplar Academy. Excuse me. As we move down the balance sheet, this section is from the balance sheet. These are general fund current assets, and then over here we have the general fund classification. So I'll show you where this stuff's at on the audit. So we'll go back to the audit. The balance sheet is 2 pages after the statement of net position. So we'll go 1, 2. There's balance sheet. Excuse me. Again, the general fund is where we're looking. There is the school service fund, and we do look at these. It's important to look at these things, but we're going to stick with the general fund for this area of the sheet. And there's our cash and due from governmental revenue sources. As I scroll down, here's our fund balance classifications, committed and unassigned. So we'll go back to our sheet, and these should match up to what we just looked at. And then over here we have our fund balance classifications. Now, if you don't know what these are, unassigned fund balances, amounts that are available for any purpose. These amounts are reported only in the general fund, and then committed fund balance are amounts constrained to specific purposes by the board. To be reported as committed, amounts cannot be used for any other purpose unless the board takes action to change that constraint, basically. So there are other classifications. If you're interested in knowing the definitions, they should be right in the audit. So we move up to the general fund section. This shows the activity throughout the year in a really summarized manner. The beginning general fund balance, the revenues, expenditures, other financing sources, the net change, and then the ending general fund balance. And this is as of June 30th, 2014. Excuse me. So down here, these are a couple calculations that, if you look at this sheet from year to year, you can compare trends and look at things and for other schools. For the NHA school, we take the management sweep agreement into consideration, but I'll still explain to you what these mean. General fund divided by revenues just takes the ending general fund divided by the revenues, and then this calculation is essentially the same thing, except it would subtract a restricted amount if there was an amount restricted down here, which there is not. And then general fund divided by expenditures takes the general fund and divides it by the expenditures. And then ending general fund divided by beginning general fund divides this by this. Now, if this is above 100%, there was a positive net change. If it's below 100%, there was a negative net change. So we'll see that we have a negative net change of 2,000, so that checks out. Moving down, this section is a summary of the notes section of the audit, essentially, into numeric tables. On this sheet, page 4 is actually rewrites the specific notes section. So this is a summary of that area of this sheet, essentially. So there's no notes payable. That would be a state aid note or other short-term borrowing. This long-term debt is what would be classified as a revenue bond or a bond for another school. NHA schools don't use that model, so that's why those are blank, but they're still there for the template. Down here we have the capital operating lease section. This is the building lease amount. So this is how the building is usually financed through NHA through a lease. And then over here we have our management fee section. Since there's a sweep agreement in place, we just put NA for not applicable, and then that's why these values come up to, this isn't a numeric value, so there's an error in Excel, so that's what that is. As we move down, here's our total square footage. If this isn't accurate, please let us know for our records. Then utilizing that square footage, we just do a couple calculations. Revenues per square foot, expenditures per square foot. That just takes the total revenues, total expenditures, divides it by the square footage, the difference, and then payment per square foot takes the lease payment and then divides that by the total square footage. So it's just a different way of calculating things. And then operations and maintenance per square foot takes the line item of operations and maintenance down here on page 2, and then divides that by the square footage. And then this square footage divided by fall count takes the square footage and divides it by the fall 2013 count, which is the corresponding fall count for this fiscal year. So as we move down to page 2, this is a comparison from year to year. This is the June 30th, 2014, June 30th, 2013, and the difference. So this lets you compare the differences in revenues. These are revenues up here, and then these are expenditures down here. So this lets you compare from year to year really well. You'll notice that some of these have this number in front of them. This is an accounting code. This is how these line items are separated in the accounting books. Some of them aren't labeled because NHA's order is different from my template, so I had to copy things in from previous years. So if you were ever curious what these are, I'll use basic programs as an example. I took the accounting manual, put it in Microsoft Word. So what you can do is you can come up to the corner, push find, then come over to the left side, type in whatever you're looking for, and then push enter. Make sure you're on results. Then you can actually move through this document, and it will show you all the references to that. So if you're looking for basic programs, you can see that it's coded at 110, and it's instructional activities including enrichment, designed primarily to prepare pupils for activities as citizens, family members, and workers, as contrasted with programs designed to improve or overcome physical, mental, social, and or emotional handicaps. It includes pre-kindergarten. So that's just there's other definitions in this thing that I won't go over, but you can if you get access to that, you can find things pretty quickly. So so yeah, you can compare year to year for everything and make sure everything's good. And down here, this should match up to the ending fund balance should match up to that box on the top of page 1 in the upper right hand corner. So below this, we have the original budget, final budget, actual, and then this is just the difference between the final budget and the actual, and then this is a percent change between the final budget and the actual. So this note here, I don't think it shows up on your sheet, but it just states that the original budget is due July 1. Many of our schools have a large discrepancy between their original budget and their final budget, so that's a reminder to myself and others in the office that that original budget is due before the fall count for that year, so it's really difficult to get an accurate budget at that point, so an amendment's usually needed, but it's still worth noting. As we move down, these calculations take the total instruction cost, so I'll scroll back up, takes the total instruction, which includes added needs and special education, and divides that by total revenues, and it's just a way to compare spending from year to year. So it just shows a trend. There was actually a slight decrease from 2013 2014 for Taylor Exemplar Academy. And over here we have our revenues divided by fall 2013, expenditures divided by fall 2013, then the difference, again, just another calculation to help compare things and be thought-provoking. So these enrollment numbers, highlight these are derived from CEPI, which I'll show you what CEPI is. Go down here. CEPI is the Center for Educational Performance and Information. You can get a lot of count data, other type of data here. You go my school data, and then you fill out the proper filters that you're searching for. Then you can come to these spreadsheets. They actually go all the way down to 91, 92. So There's a very large spreadsheet. There's a lot of information in there. I've taken that data and summarized it for you here. This number, however, is the unaudited count from the DS 4061 I received through Epicenter, so that number may change going into next year, just so you know. So this column over here takes the two counts that are listed here, so spring to fall, fall to spring, and then does a percent change from one count to the next. So this shows you your percent change. Down here we have a graphical display of the count data. So if you're a numbers person, you can look up there. If you're a visual person, you can look down here. So it's just a good way to show the data. Below that we have our free and reduced lunch counts. These again are from CEPI. You just have to, they're not the same counts as the other ones obviously, but they're derived from the same location on CEPI's website. So so that's where these are from. These are percentages that show they take this count and divide it by the fall count, the total fall count, and that's where these numbers are derived from. And then here's a graph to show the free and reduced lunch count in a graphical display for visual people. Now as we get to page 4, this is the area that I said was summarized on page 1 in those 4 little tables. Here would be the debt section. There's no state aid notes, there's no long-term debt, but there is the operating lease. This is the building lease information. This is word for word from the audit, and it's referenced on page 15, so it's on page 15 of the audit. As we move down to this is the management company information. Again, this is all directly from the audit, and this is on page 12 of the audit. There's no findings, which is good, and then here's just a couple other things that were referenced in the audit. The charter expires June 30th, 2022, page 12, that's where that's referenced. This is reviewed by another person in the office, and my email is albertb@bmcc.edu. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to discuss anything with you. I know the sweep agreement's in place, but I hope that you got some value out of this. Thanks for all you do for the kids in Michigan, and have a good one. Take care.